There was another sexual harassment suit. It's funny if it wasn't sad right here, right? So NYPD detective says partner sexually harassed and she was stripped of a gun and badge when she reported it. And what's crazy is, well, we're going to get into this here. So the NYPD officer was sexually assaulted by her mentor, then sent to a shrink by her bosses when she spoke out, she claims in a lawsuit. Brooklyn detective Jasmin Walls. Remember that last name. We just were discussing it. So just so you know, she's Gabby's daughter. Says she endured over a year of harassment or abuse from her partner. Detective Carlos Zambrano allegedly groped her, sent texts saying he was horny, and flashed explicit photos, according to court papers filed July 24th in Manhattan Supreme Court. When she alerted the boss of the behavior, Walls told the Post she was smeared with rumors, referred to NYPD psychological services, and stripped of her gun, shield, and ID. I just thought I would be a victim like this, Walls said. I expect that from someone on the streets, not someone in blue. Before I go on, Marlon, what is your initial thoughts on that? Because it sounds like how many other people? Smeared, destroyed, they go after you, psychological services. Where have we seen this before, Marlon?
Wow. So she's Captain Walls' daughter?
Yes.
Wow. So you kind of see why they didn't do anything about the allegations that she made in Brooklyn North?
Yeah, this is what I'm seeing. I see that the job itself is targeting her because of family. The same thing they did to Epps and her nephew. That's how I see this, right? Without even looking more into this. Because look at the extent of what they're doing to her.
Yeah. You see, we talked about it before. You know, there were comments in the chat yesterday about what's her role in all of this, you know? And the thing we always say is that if the department had a transparent discipline process and actually, did the job as they're supposed to do, right? Then the process would play out and it would be a fairer process to do, But what happens is the job doesn't have transparency and then you retaliate against people like that and it's like you make things even worse. Okay, if the job had a transparent disciplinary process instead of the mess that it does right now, then it would clear things up. Okay, and it would give us a clear indication of who of whether which allegations that we should take seriously. Okay. So for those of you saying that whatever her role is, I mean, you have to look at what's happened over the last couple of years to all victims, okay? And even after all of that has happened, has there been a transparent process? Has the department learned from those past mistakes and said, okay, all right, you know what? We're going to stop this nonsense, this cronyism. We're going to stop punishing guys for this and not punishing others for this because they know people. No, it hasn't. So.
No, it continues. This gets even more disturbing. The alleged harassment began in November 2022 when Walls, a cop at the time, was assigned to Brooklyn's 90th precinct in Williamsburg while on the NYPD's 18th month detective track, the lawsuit says. It's Brooklyn North, by the way. Remember that because who's in charge? Henderson's the chief there. He was supposed to technically be my mentor, Walls said of Zambrano. As he got to know me, it started progressing. You never knew what you were going to get. What began with lewd comments turned into groping, sexually explicit messages and threats. She'd be labeled a rat if she told anyone, the lawsuit alleges. Where we heard that before, Marlon? You're a rat. You're a rat. It's always a rat. Just be it. So for people who know it, a rat is essentially what? If you mention anything about corruption or try to say, this is going, you're a rat. So you're supposed to let it fester, be a victim, If you end up dead, someone should have said something. That'll be what Joe Kopp says, by the way. I just go a little bit more here. If in one revolting instance in January 2023, Zambrano allegedly grabbed her by the bun and yanked her head towards his crotch in a stairwell to simulate oral sex, she told the Post. You know who else did that? There's all kinds of rumors. Tim Pearson was doing that in 1PP. All kinds of rumors of things he was doing in 1PP with females. This is disgusting. I got a little bit more before I did. I was just so shocked, Wall said. For him to grab me by the head, how could somebody in the police department really do that? She stayed silent, determined to get a detective shield, she told the Post. But after a precinct holiday party in December 2023, aren't those always a beauty? Where Zambrano allegedly rubbed his penis against her leg in public, Walls reported the abuse to a Detective Endowment Association delegate and welfare officer, the lawsuit states. The union rep asked if she could still work with men and said Zambrano would apologize, the suit claims. Right there, there's a little bit more, but Marlon, I got to get your take because you have your own issues. These guys clearly didn't have your back. What do you have to say about that part?
Yeah, why didn't they move to get her out of there and get her into maybe a Queen's command, maybe someplace away from there? I just don't understand like why they let these incidents get out of control. Deal with it when it first pops up so that it doesn't get to this point. Either somebody separates. I'm sorry, but somebody should have told Zambrano, like, dude, you gotta cut it out, okay? Even if it didn't get to as a touching, the sexual, some of the language that I hear from a lot of the old guys, they need to understand that even if you're not one of these deviants like Marjorie, okay? You got to be careful with what you say. Okay, this isn't the old days. Okay, you have to be mindful of what you're saying. Okay, and I'm not saying I'm not talking all that woke nonsense. Okay, I'm just saying you have to. You're not in a frat house. Okay, so that frat behavior isn't going to work. You're in a professional environment where you have to be professional. Okay, so. That I don't understand why somebody didn't nip this in the bud when they first heard of that unprofessionalism. Because again, if you let it spiral out of control, not only are you getting scrutiny, not only is her she's being made to feel uncomfortable in the situation, but you're bringing on extra scrutiny into your unit. Okay, do you really want that? Okay. So supervisors have to nip that stuff in the bud, and talk to these guys before they get that frat atmosphere out of here,
It's the NYPD, especially still under the soccer mom, Jessica Tisch, is a frat house. It's a frat house which is still corrupt, and corruption runs amok, and there's nothing being done because Scott Henderson's still there. Marjorie wasn't suspended or modified. Neither was Henderson. Neither is this guy Ventol. You can keep going on and on. You can do whatever you want as long as you're friends with the right people. You're part of Crumb's crew or you're part of the Conso Frito crew. You're okay. Nothing goes wrong. But if you're some low totem pole cop or detective, crush you. That's what they're going to do. They've been doing this for a while, but under this administration, it's got a big spotlight. So I'm going to continue. Is this more? And then you're going to get even more angry. DEA lawyer James Moschella said the officer wasn't represented by the DEA when she informed the delegate of the allegations. Nevertheless, let me be clear. The DEA takes any report of this type by any officer, regardless of rank, with the utmost seriousness, but must respect the wishes of the officer concerned if she did not want it reported to the NYPD at the time, Moschella said. Several supervisors also allegedly knew about Zambrano's behavior but failed to intervene, according to the suit. From that point on, Wall says she was ostracized. She was labeled problematic, a log dropper, and rat, denied overtime and iced out by co-workers, all while a delegate allegedly spread rumors and told others Walls had filed an EO complaint Walls told the Post. Walls transferred to Brooklyn's 81st precinct in Bedford-Stuyvesant and Stuyvesant Heights in April 2024, but said the gossip followed her as the delegate allegedly continued the smear campaign for over a year, the lawsuit says. To escape the hostile environment, Walls asked to transfer to patrol in July 2025, but she said she was forced to withdraw the request under pressure. Then Captain Robert Corrado, one of her supervisors, labeled her indecisive and sent her to psych services where she was stripped of her gun, shield, and ID, according to the lawsuit. They try to discredit me and humiliate me. There's a little more, but what do you have to say about that, Molly? That's the smear campaign that follows from the delegate, the DA delegate. This is your this was your union, Molly. You know all about how they do this stuff. They were smearing her all the way into the new command.
Yeah, they like we talk about on the show all the time, the unions are useless. Okay? Now, I know firsthand this job retaliates on you because I'd like to mention that you know, Deputy Chief Surgeon Kufo, again, called Chief Eladi, and when I questioned the approval of the medical experiment, you know, he went back to Galati and tried to get me like transferred or you know, basically try to get me reprimanded for discourtesy, which was a lie. Okay. And the union knew all about it. Did they do anything about it? I expected the union were going to at least make a call. Paul DeGiacomo was going to make a call to Kufa and tell him, if you better cut the nonsense out. I expected at least that. I would have been fine with that. Okay. But you don't get any of that. So now let's say if I had dropped a log to IAB, right? Then I'd have been a rat, right? You label us a rat, but you don't do anything when we bring up the complaint. Okay? So in this example, they labeled her a rat and a log dropper. Okay, did you do anything when she first reported the problem? What did you do about it? Because if you did something about it, then would she have been forced to go that route? Probably not. Probably not. I look at her record and she's was a pretty active cop. Okay, so we're not talking about a house mouse here. Okay, but you don't do anything, and then when these cops have to take it on their own to do something, then you label them a rat and then you retaliate against it. So it's like you're wrong for having reported the unprofessionalism and the nonsense. It's completely absurd, Sal.
I pointed this out over and over again, and I don't care what people say. This whole log dropping, and what are you supposed? This is how the procedure is. This is what you have. What's disgusting is those people that are supposed to be representing you, your delegate, the union. Listen, the unions, in my opinion, are useless. I'd be identified as a union buster. You want to know why? Who do they really help? Their inner circle, their friends, their family. You want a low totem pole, look what they're doing to her, smearing her, because she's not part of the in crowd. That's what a union does. That's the majority of them. And then they'll tell you to vote for people that go against everything you, the union member, values. Okay? When they start endorsing people like Eric Adams, they're going against your values because he's done nothing but hurt the police department, but apparently not the head of the DA. He thinks opposite. So, there's more to this, a little bit more. Walls was cleared the same day by a department psychologist. He said, Zambrano, who's married, remains on the job. He gets to work on his cases like nothing happened, she said. Meanwhile, my career is tarnished because of his actions. Her attorney, John Scola, said the NYPD protects sexual predators and punishes the women who dare to speak up. This case shines more light on a broken system of harassment, retaliation, and institutional failure, one that will only change because of brave women like Detective Walls. Walls is seeking unspecified damages. The NYPD declined to comment on ongoing litigation. Zambrano and Corrado could not be reached for comment. So, Marlon, what do you have to say with all this? This is another, I guess it's another spoke in the wheel. And my main concern here is that the NYPD, their reaction to this first is they smear her. You know this because you were in the DA. You know how these delegates are. All these unions, all the delegates are the same. They smeared her. They brought her to her command. Of course, she was in Brooklyn North, which That falls under a chief that has it out for her mom. So it's a same scenario like Epps. And it's almost like a mirror. You come out against the department and we're going to crush you and any of your offspring if you come after us. That's one avenue of this. The other half is, take her to psych services and do all this crazy stuff. I mean, what are we talking about here? Because this is why people don't want this job, Marlon. Like this is clearly it.
You know, you really have to wonder with this atmosphere, how many women actually just remain silent on the job, you know, just for the sake of their careers, you know? Now, we talked about this on Monday that it'd be naive to think this just started happening like recently, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But I seriously have to wonder, like, just how many women on the job just remain quiet because, you know, you talk, I mean, where you gonna go? The unions aren't working for you. You know, you report this and they're gonna try to label you as a rat, a log dropper, discourteous, and stonewall your career. So it really, you know, I tend to take a measured response to a lot of these things. And a couple of years ago, remember we had this thing where the progressives were like, believe all women and you know, in a lot of those cases, the men were wrong. Okay, those allegations were bogus. So I tend to take a measured response to a lot of these things. But when you see this keep happening in the NYPD, you really have to start wondering, how many women are silent about this, and it's like these guys are like, I just don't understand how the job doesn't see that this is a long-term problem for them, especially if you're looking to recruit the best women for the job. Okay. You're not going to get the best women because they see this and you think they want to come and some chief is preying on them, trying to get them in bed. You know, I mean, I don't understand how the job doesn't see this as a major issue, especially when they love to spout all the progressive nonsense that they do.
And I like to point out that the yet to be dropped lawsuit from Quatisha Epps, the former lieutenant in the NYPD, will probably blow the doors off for everything else that we've cited here today and anything previously. That is going to be the mother of all lawsuits. And I know the feds were supposedly involved, but of course we can't touch Eric Adams, right? Because, you know, he's the MAGA candidate for mayor at 7% in the polls. But Special Hagen said something here earlier. Said Adams does not care about violence against women. His personal security, David Johnson, was arrested for beating up his girlfriend, piercing through the woman by the neck at the migrant shelter, which I remember him doing. This guy tells you he believes women, he's for women. Eric Adams' administration is anything but that. And their actions and their behavior say something different than what they actually do. Because it can't be everyone's a disgruntled employee, everybody's a liar, everyone's a rat. Everybody, when you start looking and saying, I'm the problem, because clearly there's a ton of mishegoss around me, and I don't know, I'm blaming everyone else but me and the decisions I make. Because Eric Adams was he's never been a manager. He's a horrible manager. He doesn't know how to manage anything. He couldn't manage a lemonade stand, let alone the police department or the city, which you've seen is in complete turmoil because of him.
Okay, that's all. If you're a good manager, why, and you know these incidents keep popping up in these guys' histories, you know Madry's history, why would you continue to put them in an atmosphere where they're going to be around women officers, and you know what's going to happen again? Why would you keep doing that?
I'm speechless, you know. And Special Hagen again, she said this clique is quick to try to deem you as having mental issues, yet they all are violent. They stalk people and they will do anything to destroy people, want nothing to do with their corruption. This is a fact. For me, it's a fact because that's all I've ever seen with these people. You know, Nighthawk says Adams and all his friends are losers and lowlifes. It's like, it's a pattern here. It's very disturbing.